Hey guys and gals, Love to Fly Hellies here. Haven't done a build video in a while. Got a lot of projects I wanted to do over the winter, but we haven't had any winter. We've been flying, except for the last, well, we flew this weekend a bunch, but for 4 weekends in a row the wind was just 30 mile an hour, and then we had rain, just couldn't fly. So we built a little bit, working on Bill's giant big stick. We're almost done with it, but anyway, I have a new project. I showed you in one of my other videos. I found myself a twin engine stick. I got a little story to tell you about the sticks. A year and a half ago, I wouldn't have had one of the ugly things. You couldn't have give it to me. Well, when I met Bill and he wanted to learn to fly, he bought a stick. 40 size stick was the first plane that he had, and we built it, and of course I had to fly it to train him on the buddy box. Fell in love with that doggone thing and turned right around and bought me one. They may be ugly, but guys, they are one of the funnest planes to fly out there, and I would recommend that over a trainer any day, because you can, if you got a computer radio, you can set that thing up on lower rates, turn your throws down a little bit, and you've got a trainer. And then you can beef it up and turn it up on high rates, and you've got a very acrobatic little plane. They're just awesome, and they glide in better than any trainer I've ever flown, and I've flown a bunch of them. But anyway, get you a big stick, man. You'll love it. They Great Plains makes 3 sizes. Well, they make 4. They make a little electric one, big stick 40, big stick 60, and a giant big stick. Bill has all 3 of them, and we're almost done with the giant one. He's got a G38 gas engine we're putting on it. I think that's all we like, is putting the engine on it. But anyway, I found this twin engine stick. I've never seen one before. It's a China brand model. It's a Lanyu, I guess is how you pronounce it. L-A-N-U-Y, Lanyu. Anyway, they have a lot of different models, and this thing looks to be built pretty decent. The covering's not great on it. It's pretty bad covering. But the frame and everything seems to be okay. But what I'm going to do, of course, it's red with the white stripes and the iron crosses. It doesn't have the scalloped trailing edge on the ailerons, which I'm kind of glad. They look kind of cool, but man, if you've ever covered a plane, those are a nightmare to cover. It took 2 of us to do the wing on my Ghost Rider. It was terrible. Anyway, these are flat across, and so is the stab and the elevator. So we are going to do a video on the build, from taking the box apart, opening the box, and taking the plane out. We're going to strip all the covering off of it. I'm going to check all the joints, since it is a cheap brand. I want to check all the wood joints and add a little extra glue and reinforce firewall, anything like that that looks like it might be weak. But so far, just what I've looked at, it looks like it's built pretty decent. Good looking plane once you get it out of the box. I just don't like the colors. So I've got a pretty neat little scheme. I've had some really good comments on my Ghost Rider. That was kind of something I thought up, and I just like it. It's different, you know. I don't. Most of you know I don't like the red and white and iron crosses. They're just so common. You see millions of them. I wanted something different, so I came up with a Ghost Rider theme on that one, and love it. I'm having a ball with it. This one is going to be called the Gun Slinger. I found some pretty interesting stickers that do involve some skulls again. Got a nice looking little green skull with a purple hat, and got a corncob pipe in his mouth and a couple of 6 guns underneath. Those are going to go out on somewhere on the tips of the wings. He also has a rebel flag on his hat, if you notice. I'm kind of a rebel. Anyway, got a couple packages of fake bullet holes. We're going to trim them down, make them a little smaller. It'll have some bullet holes and across the wings and fuselage and this and that. Also, let me get them out here. Got these Rebel flags with 6 guns underneath them, and it says "I'm your Huckleberry." Anybody that's watched Tombstone will know what that means. I love that part that Val Kilmer played in that. Thought those were kind of cute. Those are going to go on the tail section. And then I've got another one, just plain 6 shooters. It says "I'm your Huckleberry," which is going to go on the top of the main fuselage up front, I think. And then on the side of the fuselage, on each side, I have these Skull Rebel flags, flaming flags, that's going to go down the side of it. I had said in my earlier video that it was going to be have some pewter color, platinum, kind of a darker silver color is what I had originally started out with, but I've changed my mind on the color scheme now. It is going to be green, forest green, orange, and light purple, since he had purple in his hat. And I was going to use blue for trim, but I'm waiting on a roll of the purple. So it's going to be quite colorful. It's going to really stand out at the field, and it's going to stand out in the air, and a lot of people are going to laugh at it, but hey, I think it's kind of a cool idea, and we'll see what kind of comments we get on it. So anyway, let's open up the box on this thing and see what we got inside here. Okay, here's what it looks like on the box. It doesn't show any landing gear. It does have landing gear. It has it's a tail dragger, so there won't be a tricycle gear on this one. I've got some wheels in mind, a couple different ones. I haven't decided which one I'm going to get yet to put on it, but I'm definitely not using the stock wheels. But that's what it looks like in the box right now, and the colors and everything. We're going to change that up. Almost looks like a water boat, doesn't it, with no landing gear on it, but it's not. But calls for 225 2-strokes. I thought about getting the OS 25AX 2-strokes, and I got to looking. I had a brand new OS 30 4-stroke, so I got to looking, and it's slightly more powerful than the 25 2-stroke, so I went ahead and bought another one. So it's going to have twin 4-strokes on it. I think that's going to have a pretty unique little sound in itself. So alright, let's open up the box. Okay, we got in the box is a couple of wings. We got to glue the hinges and everything in on the control surfaces. But if you can, I don't know if you can see it on this or not, but the covering is really wrinkling. I mean, it's got huge bubbles in it. It's not a good job on the covering at all. But the wood part seems to be built fairly decent. I am going to reinforce this firewall just a little bit and make it a little stronger inside there, and everything else looks pretty cool. So anyway, I'm just gonna go, after I get the covering off, I'll be able to tell what we've got inside, you know, structure wise. But inside the fuselage looks pretty decent. Everything looks nice and square and fairly heavy wood, decent reinforcement and stuff. So I'm gonna probably leave that alone. I think it'll be okay. Got the other wing here, and then there's it's got wood covers on the nacelles, which will have little screws to hold them on. I had the other one off so you can see the inside of it. Does take standard size servos in the wings and the rudder and elevator, but the throttle is like a little mid-size mini servo in there, which I guess makes sense. You got limited room inside that nacelle because you got a fuel tank in each one. Elevator that, or aileron that came off of one wing, and then elevator, of course, is just red, and we're going to change that up. I'm not sure exactly how I'm going to do the color scheme, but it's going to involve the orange, green, and purple. It's going to be pretty interesting when I get done with it. Tail is white. It's there again. You can kind of tell the covering. I don't know if you can see it on here. Let me get down the light. You can see the wood grain right through the covering. It's a very cheap covering that's on this thing. I have a feeling it wouldn't last long in the air anyway, but we're just gonna strip it all off to the wood and redo the whole thing. So I do know, I think my tail's gonna end up being purple. Got all the hardware with it. It's not too bad. It's the dowel rod type that you have to put the metal rods in the ends and wrap it with thread and put super glue on it. And I've used them before. They're okay, which I'll probably go ahead and use that on this, because if I don't, then I'm gonna have to go in there and install tubes for the control rods. And I don't want to have to mess with that if I can keep from it. So I'll probably go ahead and use this on this plane. I think it'll be okay. Landing gear, of course, will be painted. It's silver color, but it'll be painted one of the colors. I'm not sure which, green or orange or something to kind of go. Maybe a two-tone. I'm not sure yet what I'm going to do on that. But got to come with just your average hardware, plastic control horns and stuff, which I may use them. I may switch to metal. I'm not sure. 2 motor mounts, 2 fuel tanks. Everything's there. It looks like pretty decent hardware with it. The wheels, of course, they're going. I'm not going to use those. I've got a couple different ones with aluminum hubs picked out, so don't know for sure yet on that. But anyway, there it is out of the box. The manual is very lacking. This would not be an easy plane to build for a beginner unless you've built before. All you get is a few little pictures and hardly any words at all, just very little, and it just shows you little arrows and pictures, so it's kind of hard to decipher unless you built quite a few of these planes, which we have. Half the time I don't even look at the manuals anymore, but it does come with one. But anyway, alright, we got all that out. The next step is we're going to start stripping the covering off of it, and most of it probably will come off pretty easy since it's not tacked down good anyway. And what doesn't, we may have to do a little sanding or whatever to get it off. But I will start doing the video on the stripping it down. I'm going to start from that point, and I'm going to try to do a build. Hope it's not too boring, but I want to try to cover every single step of this, especially for the newcomers out there. There's a lot of you guys that are new at this hobby and never have built very much, and I'm trying to help you out and give you some tips on what I don't know a whole lot, but I'm getting a little better at it as I go. So anyway, we're going to do a complete video start to finish and work it all the way through. So it's probably going to be several sections on YouTube. I'm going to try to keep them down to 15 to 18 minutes. I know it's boring when you get a 20-30 minute video and it's hard to sit there and watch the whole thing. So I'm going to try to keep them down between 15 and 20, 15 to 18 minutes if I can. So there's probably going to be I imagine about 25 sections of this thing, because it's going to take a while to do all the stripping and everything. So anyway, hang in there and stay tuned, and we'll get started stripping this thing here in just a minute. Okay, I got the covering started. I just cut it a couple places, and it's got pretty good on the edges, but not as strong as I would like. And one of my favorite coverings is Monocoat. Ultracoat's pretty good too from Hanger 9. We used a lot of it, but I love the Monocoat. That stuff is a little bit heavier, but it's very strong and it goes on very well. It's easy to shrink. But yeah, see, that wasn't even stuck to that wood at all. I mean, the glue has not even been activated. Stuck along the edges a little bit, and that's it. That's why there's bubbles all in it. It's a very, very poor quality of covering, I can tell you that. But we're going to fix that. We're going to make it all pretty or goofy looking one. I'm not sure. I come up with some wild ideas sometimes. But kind of fun. I'm just starting to get into a lot of this building. You see, right there, these joints are they're not strong at all. There's very little glue on them. So one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go in, when I get this stripped down, I'm going to go into every joint on it, and I'm going to wick some thin CA into that, and that will strengthen that up. And I may even, this one here's a double. These are real thin. I don't want to add much weight to it, but I may put a cross beam across here, a couple of them, to kind of reinforce that, because they're pretty weak. Of course, once you get your covering back on there and iron down, that helps strengthen it. But those joints are not strong at all. They're trying to pull apart pretty easy, so be careful with your razor knife. Don't scar your wood if you cut into this when you're taking it apart. This is going to be the fun part around the nacelles here, but it may not be too bad. This curved edge, right here, they're a little bit a little bit harder to do on those when you get that curved area, but not as bad as those scallops. That scallops is the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. Not too bad looking servo trays. Wouldn't hurt to reinforce them a little. I will at least re-glue and strengthen all that, make it a little bit better. But let's see what we got here. I'm gonna turn it over. Get rid of that iron cross. I just hate that thing. And I guess it's just because there's just hundreds of them out there. I don't know why Great Plains and some of these other companies don't offer a different color scheme. Now, Hanger 9 had an ultra stick. They don't make the 90, 100 size, 60, whatever it is, 90 size, I think. They don't make it anymore. It's real colorful and pretty, and it's got the flat ailerons on the back, doesn't have the scallops and stuff. It's got a lot of translucent covering that you can see through. It's a nice looking plane. You've seen Byron, my friend Byron, and Buddy. Two of my friends have those, and you've probably seen them on my videos. Now you want to be careful here, getting underneath it to get it started. Don't cut your wood or scar it. But this stuff is, if this was monocoat on a good solid plane, there'd be little pieces stuck everywhere, and you'd have to sand and clean like that right there. But it's just peeling off. So the covering job on this was not good at all. And the structure's not too bad, other than it's not got a lot of glue. It needs more glue, and I use epoxy on most of my main joints. But like these little joints right here, you can just run thin CA down into those, and it'll hold it just fine. My friend Ken, that's all he's ever uses is thin CA, and it amazes me how much it holds on this stuff. But it does. But like I said, be careful with your knife getting under here. Be careful banging your wing on something and putting a big ding in it. If you do ding it, you can take a little bit of epoxy and sand some sawdust off a block of balsa, and you can mix up some filler. It's the same color. You can mix up your filler and fill in that little ding and let it kind of harden, and then sand it back smooth, and that you can fix a bubble like that without any trouble, and makes it look just fine. Let's get the rest of this off of here. I'm gonna do the video on stripping this part down just to kind of show you how we're doing it, and I won't do every single section of the plane because it's obvious that this is how you do it. You just cut you an opening somewhere and start tearing it off. So we'll do this wing. I may show you part of the fuselage, and I'll show you some of the reinforcement that we're gonna do when we start doing that. But this stuff is really coming off easy. It's going to be a whiz to recover. And it's going to be fun too. I don't know a whole lot about building it. I've never built a kit. I've always done ARF kits. But I'm learning from my good friend Ken. He has really taught me a lot, and I've had a ball learning this stuff from him. And he's very good at it. He's built models all of his life for years and years and years, and he's very good. So he's kind of got me interested in the building part of it. Someday I may break down and build a kit when I have a little better shop, a little bit more room. But this is going to be kind of fun in itself. Well, this one here is a little hard to get a hold of the edge of it. I'm going to try to get one of these bubbled. Here we go. So being careful not to cut your wood. You don't want to cut into that or skin it, but if you do, it's easy to patch. Just make you some filler out of some sawdust and just a tiny bit of epoxy. And if you need to thin it, you can thin that slightly where it's more runny with a little bit of denatured alcohol. Don't put a whole lot. Your glue won't bond good, but you can put just a little bit in there. That also works good to fuel-proof your firewall if you don't want to paint it with fuel-proof paint. They don't put much of a coating on these from the factory, especially these cheaper models. So you can paint it, which I'm going to paint these probably black on the front. But you can mix up 30-minute epoxy and thin it to your desired consistency that it can be painted on with a brush with denatured alcohol, and then paint your firewall, and it'll go on clear. That will fuel-proof anything you want to put that on. You can put it inside the nacelles, which I will do. I'll fuel-proof all this in case the fuel tank leaks. Fuel will eat up wood pretty quick, so if you'll fuel-proof any area that could possibly get raw fuel on it a lot, it'll save you in the long run. Your plane won't soak up the wood. These things, if you got leaks and stuff and they soak up for a long period of time, the joints will start coming loose, and it also makes your wood heavier, which your plane gets heavier. So try to keep your fuel leaks to a minimum, or none if possible. And but if you do get some, then if you've got this fuel proofed inside here with that epoxy or paint, then you don't have to worry about it. It's not going to soak into the wood. So alright, just a little bit more right here, and let's see, let me get that. Boy, this is coming off so easy, which I had a feeling it would. It's not on there very good. So I would have, if I was going to keep this plane the way it is, if you end up buying one of these Lanyu brand models, they seem to be built fairly decent. What you need to do before you ever even put it together is get your covering irons out and go over the whole thing and iron down all the covering really good, and then use your heat gun to pull out the bubbles and stuff, and before you fly it. There's a World Models brand. I have a couple of those. They're good planes. They really are for a lower end. They're built real well, and they fly good and they hold up well, but their covering, the main covering, is not too bad on most of them, but the trim schemes on top of that will come off the first flight. It'll start peeling back. So the first thing you do on a World Models, any model really, but especially those and this one, take your heating iron and iron down, go over all the trim on top of this stuff and really seal it down, especially around the edges. You can also take clear fingernail polish and go around the edge of your trims, and that will just almost melt it to the other, but it dries clear and you can't see it. You can also get Top Flight monocoat trim solvent, and that does the same thing. You can take a little brush and go over the edges of your trim schemes, and it'll seal that thing down where you won't ever have a little corner or anything come up. Once you get a little corner coming up and you get fuel residue in there, it's not going to stick back down and you have to redo it. So that stuff works good, but clear fingernail polish is cheaper and it does the same thing. Don't get it on your carpet. Your wife won't like that. So anyway, there we go. Look at that. The wood looks good, nice and sanded. They did a really good job. There's no rough edges anywhere, no seams, sticking out. It's all done really good there. I just the covering's kind of cheap, and like I say, I'm going to reinforce this, mostly just glue, I think, in here, because once you get the covering back on here, it'll strengthen those. So I don't want to add any more weight to this plane than I have to. Anyway, well, there's that part right there. We'll come back a little bit later and do some on the fuselage. I'll show you a little bit of that, and of course I'll strip the other wing and tail and everything down, and then we will start covering on it. Alright, see you next round.